Well, welcome back to everyone. Thank you for sticking around. We have got some great content now. We're going to be joined by Gavin, who is CEO of Lava, and he's going to be talking to us about some really important things such as authentication and anti-counterfeiting. Welcome to the virtual stage, Gavin. How are you?
Hi, Jenny. Thanks very much for having me. I'm very well.
Good, good. Well, before we get started, it's always good if we can just know a little bit about our panelists. So tell us a little bit about you. Can you give us an interesting fact?
Interesting facts. Well, I'm one of these guys that's into camping in the great outdoors. I do tend to go camping quite a bit whenever I get a chance. And on my last trip, actually, I nearly got flooded out completely by a raging river that sprang up right next to me. So yeah, I nearly got washed away completely, but thankfully I didn't.
Well, because then you wouldn't be here today to talk to us about authentication.
That is true.
So, very, very important. So glad about that. I thought you were going to tell me something about a tarantula and a rattlesnake that you fought to the ground or something, because you're in Australia, aren't you?
That's right. I know it's probably disappointing, but my version
Yes.
of camping is glamping. So I like to take the cognac, the potbelly stove, and so the rain just kind of got in the way of that. So but look, there are always animals lurking. I just tend to not. I don't go after them, so I'll leave them alone. They leave me
All
alone.
right. Well, then we better talk about authentication. So for everybody listening, they may or may not really know why authentication is important. So can you tell us why?
Sure. Shall I bring up some slides?
Yes, if you've got some.
Terrific. So the reason why we think authentication is important, and it's part of the reason that I got involved with Lava in the first place, was the significant issues that are out there, as we all know, with fake products, counterfeits, lookalikes, scams, and so forth. And being a massive fan of connected packaging, I could definitely see we could see the value in using connected packaging to address some of these issues. But particularly just looking at the size of these facts are probably well known to a lot of people, but the fact that the global counterfeit market is now worth more than some economies is pretty shocking. So we're pretty optimistic about the role that connected packaging can play in this area.
Wow. So you're talking about the fact that actually this is a problem which is so big, it's more than some economies.
It is.
Scary.
It is. And it's well known that in a lot of categories and a lot of famous brands, the production of fakes completely outstrips by 5, 10, even higher numbers, the legitimate production. And I've got a case study along those lines to walk through with you tonight or today.
Awesome. Awesome. Tonight for you, morning for us.
It is tonight for me. That's okay.
I just wanted to ask a quick poll. Let me see if the polls are working. Here we go. Let's verify this with our participants today. So how important is product authentication to you when making a purchase decision? Is it extremely important, somewhat important? I don't know enough about it. This is good.
It'd be really fascinating to see the results, Jenny, because I think a lot of it also depends on where in the world you live and what you buy and our buying habits. But in certain parts of the world, and some of the case studies we'll talk about tonight, it can not only just mean that you don't get what you pay for, it can mean that you die. And it's very common even for people in who are tourists in developing countries or in other places around the world, even getting sick with alcohol poisoning. It's very, very common.
Yeah.
And you mentioned before QR codes and so forth. There's even been lots of cases of scamming using QR codes, in the UK or through Europe, USA as well. So
yeah, definitely. Baby milk as well. So again, making sure that what you're giving your child is safe. All right. So actually, extremely important, 38%, somewhat important, 52%, and I don't know enough about it, 10%. So I think that's pretty interesting. Definitely a lot all sitting up there, 80, 90% really, 90% looking at the fact that it is important. So if it is important, tell us some case studies, talk us through it.
Thanks, Jenny. I've got a bit to share with you guys today, and just touching on the theme of connected packaging, just while we're all here, we're all massive fans of it. For us, we've always believed that with connected packaging can do some incredible stuff. And we're going to hear from many of our speakers tonight and yourself about it today, about its ability to engage with consumers and create special connections. But two of the things that we take very seriously, in addition to these first two, are to connect securely with consumers, particularly if you're registering consumers for competitions, any kind of first-party or zero-party data collection, and to protect consumers and other parties in the supply chain from fakes as well. And so that kind of begs the question is, what have we got today in our arsenal to do this? And does today's connected packaging support that? And generally speaking, most of today's codes were not designed with security in mind. They were not designed to authenticate. And a great example is the QR code, which is by itself an incredible technology. But as most of the audience, I'm sure, would have experience of themselves, anyone can generate a QR code for free. You just have to Google it, and it'll take you under 2 minutes to do it. And just as easy it is for us to do, or for someone who's not a bad actor, I suppose, and just curious to do, it's just as easy for a counterfeiter to do that. And that's an attack method called spoofing. And that the problem with it is that we as consumers, particularly as you mentioned, when you scan QR codes as using a camera, the camera doesn't know, you don't know, just looking at a QR code, there's nothing to identify. They all look the same.
Yeah. And
interestingly enough, NFC tags are actually have the same basic vulnerabilities, particularly if they're just tap to scan type NFC tags. So that's what kind of makes us passionate. And if you think that it's just something that can happen theoretically, I guess I used to kind of think that way in a sense. Then I went to China just before the pandemic, actually. Interesting. And I went to a supermarket, really good one. I bought this bottle of Bordeaux wine. It looked legit. And I'm sure I had no reason to suspect that it was a brand name supermarket. Had a QR code on it. I even scanned it just out of curiosity. It came back with an authentication message.
Really?
But basically, everything you see here is what happened to me. First of all, I had to run. I was in my hotel room. I ran to the bathroom, spat it out because it tasted like battery acid. And, while that's somewhat funny, there are people who die every year, not only in China, but all around the world with this exact problem where what's in the bottle is not even, forget about the fact that it may not be legitimate wine, it may not be wine, and it may not even be a beverage. It could be mixed with paint thinners and other really nasty stuff that can cause organ damage or death. So this was a classic case, a fake bottle of Bordeaux wine. So it was called Bordeaux wine. You can see it looks like it literally had all the features of a quality wine label with raised lettering and so forth. But it had a fake QR code on it. And the fake QR code took you to a fake authentication website or a fake digital
When you
verification.
scanned it, it actually told you that it was authentic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And
you could do this yourself, genuinely. Anyone could make a QR code that gives an authentic message. You know better than most, Jenny, how easy it is to create one. So by themselves, they're actually, a lot of today's technology was not designed with authentication or security in mind, and it needs other technology, which is where we come in. And just because I'll just familiarize the audience with some of the things they'll see in the case studies, Lava has built a range of smart fingerprint-based technology using digital fingerprints and computer vision and AI. And we basically have protection for QR codes, as you can see on the right-hand side with the little blue. They're actually invisible dots. We call them InvisiPrints. But we can also invisibly protect brand logos, so to turn the brand logo itself into a trust mark. And on the left-hand side, our smart fingerprints are designed to be an overt mark of trust, which in certain markets, particularly we find in Asia and other parts of the developing world, are very in demand because of the fact that they are not a QR code and they've been visually distinct as well. And they're always unique to every individual item. So they're serialized and only Lava produces them for brands, basically, and our partners. So on to some case studies. The first one is, and this is actually Lava's first ever pilot. When we were first starting out, we needed a pilot, and we grabbed the bull by the horns, as it was. And our first pilot ended up being a full production case study where we were asked to protect premium cherries being exported from Australia to China. It was in our own backyard. We're now working a lot with international projects, but this was in our backyard, and one very, very proud of. These are not just any cherries. So I don't know how many of the audience would be familiar with premium cherries, but I kid you not, these cherries sell for $200 US a box. They're only available for 6 weeks of the year. And part of the reason that they're so expensive is because of their rarity. They're air freighted from Tasmania directly to parts of China, India, all through Southeast Asia. And they're up to 40 millimeters in size. They're super crispy and taste amazing. And they're also a gift of honor. So if there's a great incentive to create counterfeits, as you can imagine, Jenny, because it's very easy just to create lookalike boxes and fill them with fruit that is grown domestically or imported from other countries. And the market is flooded there at that time of the year with lots of other product that is inferior and smaller and typically sells for a lot less. So you can make good money as a counterfeiter. And this was going on for a long time. As you can see there, this company only makes 500,000 cases a year, but in fact, the product was on sale for 6 months of the year, and they estimate there were millions of them circulating. And just as that happened to me with the Bordeaux wine, we got a call from, Lava got a call from the Department of Trade looking for help for this exporter because they had the same issue happen with their QR code. So they had fakes over the years. The brand's been extremely popular, partly because, as you saw in the previous photo there, that's the Chinese president meeting with the founder of the business, Reed Fruits, Tim Reed, and Australia's Prime Minister. So that got the product incredible awareness, consumer awareness, and as a result, there were millions of them springing up. So they had to invest in security measures with things like foil boxes and other things, very expensive packaging, and ultimately every measure was defeated. So the year before they worked with Lava, they put unique or serialized QR codes which were authenticating each individual box. They put a code like this in each box, and that allowed consumers to verify. They could only be scanned once, and then they would be verified just for that one experience. But an enterprising counterfeiter just realized all you need to do is scan one QR code, copy all the website experience into another website, and create your own QR code that goes to the fake website with a similarly looking URL. And that was all it took. And then there were literally millions of these things. The scary thing is often before the real product was on the ground in China, the fakes were on sale before it had even left Tasmania. And that's very common, actually, not just for this category, but for many categories around the world as well. So what you end up with is the verified fake. So you go to scan it like I did, and it says, this is genuine. So apart from everything else, the massive letdown to consumers, you have official importers actually losing millions and actually threatening to take their business away, which we've seen happen with other customers we're working with as well. So they were told, you need to find a solution. And very pleasingly, we were looking for a pilot partner at that time. And Reed Fruits was able to, we ended up winning the business, which was fantastic. And we're still working with Reed today. This was our alternative. So our Lava Smart fingerprints were added onto unique labels. So each one was unique to each one of the 500,000 or so cartons. And the key thing about it is there's a lot of technology out there that is extremely complex to implement. It requires special cameras or special production line or printing. The requirement here is it had to be hand applied or be able to be hand applied by the seasonal workers that actually put the cartons together and pack the cartons. And that's exactly what we came up with there. A really simple method that were all pre-printed ahead of the season and ready to go. And as you can see on the right-hand side, that's a Chinese influencer in China who's just bought a box and is talking about all the features on the box that allow you to work out if it's the genuine one or a fake. And she is circling all the aspects like the brand name, but also the ribbing in the carton and other features that are unique to the carton. And then finally, it mentions the Lava Smart fingerprint there. And when you scan it, this was scannable in the native WeChat environment that most Chinese tend to use. It gave you either a message of potentially counterfeit or genuine, depending on how many times the product's been scanned and other business rules that were set. So that all seems interesting enough, I suppose. Like, theoretically that works, but this will hopefully bring out a little bit more about how our tech works and what makes it different to a normal product code. It's using computer vision that's powered by AI. And these are the images that we were watching in real time coming through. These are not samples that we collected or some photos that were taken. these are real images captured when consumers, or in this case, we worked out it was a counterfeiter very quickly, was scanning the lava fingerprints. And as you can see here, what we're capturing in this image is the security cuts that are in the label, which prevented being torn off. You can also see that it's not a shiny label, it's just a matte label, and other features. You can even see dirt that it's picked up in transit. So it's that kind of, optics is very relevant to security investigations. So at this stage, it's all normal. Scan number 1, we're counting and tracking every scan. But by scan number 4, things get interesting. So you can immediately see there's something going on here. And we were like, wow, that's interesting. So you can see the counterfeiter's desktop. Well, we didn't realize it was a counterfeiter yet, but we thought there was something interesting going on. You can see someone has cut this box with a knife. And what they're doing is they're attempting to prepare it for counterfeiting, basically. So we now know already forensically quite a bit about their MO and the way that they're going about doing it. So this kind of forensic data that is, I should stress, this has been captured through the consumer's scanning, not with an app, just literally through the WeChat experience that launches the lava scanner. And that's providing this forensic data, which then gets richer. So by scan number 11...
As soon as scan 4, people are already getting involved in trying to prepare a backup for a fake.
So yeah, each fingerprint's unique, right? So this is the individual carton, one of the 500,000 odd. And by scan number 4, it's the same carton, the same fingerprint that has just been scanned repeatedly, right? And so we're counting each scan, and we've also got the other telemetry, like the location of where the scan's taking place. And by scan number 4, the scans are racking up. We can see this, and this is also data that can be used in automated investigations and manual ones as well. So come back to that topic later. But then the scans keep continuing. We've got every one of these scans
on this one particular fingerprint, which is a serialized, therefore unique fingerprint, right?
That's it. Exactly right. So it's been scanned repeatedly, and we're now wondering why. So you can see why now. If you look carefully, you can actually even see the little lines from the monitor. The person has scanned it on their monitor, but have also captured the Photoshop toolbar because you can imagine what they're doing, right? They're trying to clean up all of that, those marks that were on the label. You saw it back here, all those marks, but also how do counterfeiters make money? They don't make a single copy, they make thousands of copies, right? And that's what they do in the final scan that you see here, or the final image. You can actually see that they're laid out now. They've copied them in Photoshop or something like it, and they've made a webbing, a continuous roll of the same labels. And we've got lots and lots of these scans. You can see we've just skipped a few here between scans 4, 11, and 21. But the thing is that by the time scan 10 happened, after scan 10, that was the last time that this fingerprint actually played ball. From this point forward, it actually said suspected counterfeit every time it was scanned. And of course, we're getting the alerts in the back end as well. But you can see here as well that the substrate, the label surface, is now shiny. It's not flat anymore, and it's on a webbing as well. So the final giveaway, which is really interesting, we've worked this out with the interim scans, is it's been torn and creased and scrunched up. So what we believe happened was they realized it wasn't going to work for them. Then they've just already sent them all to the printer. So they've thrown it in the bin, and then someone has, we don't know if it's the same person, but someone has pulled it out and scanned it again, which is why you get these crease lines and the tears. So as a result, so this is what happens to a brand that's under attack. So these are all the shipments and scans taking place of the products, 500,000 odd boxes over the course of 6 weeks. And you can see here that from the first day, literally in the first week, there were 8 counterfeit attempts, of which that was one of them. And then there was another one on at the start of the second week. There was only one more about a week and a bit later, and then nothing for the rest of the season. Meanwhile, the scans and the sales continued to build all the way through the season. So that was really interesting. After 8 attempts, they just gave up, and we didn't get any more detected counterfeits for the rest of the season there. And as a result, it worked. Like we were, we kept waiting for, pinching ourselves to make sure we weren't, popping the champagne too early. But 5 years later, we're still working with Reed Fruits. And in fact, what's happened, and this is be relevant, particularly to a lot of the connected packaging and social media themes that we're going to talk about, is the partners we've been working with a specialist agency in China called RuLife. These guys have put together a fantastic social commerce campaign. So basically using social commerce to educate consumers how to identify and find the real product, where to buy it, and integrating that with the key selling messages. And although this was just one of many campaigns that were run during that season known as Born a Sweetheart, this was last year. You can see how the label design has evolved. No, it's a little small there, but you get a bit of a sense of it. The carton keeps evolving as well. As well. And it just gets a huge amount of engagement. And it's giveaways, it's competitions, it's scan and win. Any kind of giveaway you can think about, going the draw and so forth. So all the things that I think us as connected packaging fans are fans of, combined with protecting consumers and enlisting influencers to actually make it more effective.
Yeah.
So
amazing. So that really just shows, I think, the massive impact that you would have had on their business. I mean, I guess you would have shown us if you had a revenue, if you had the revenue, you'd have shown us, but that must be a huge impact on the trust, therefore the ability for them to be able to sell more and actually sell their product and not somebody else's product. That chart that you did show in terms of when they were under attack and then actually what happened in the end, there's a huge difference there. I don't know, obviously they're still working with you, so that's fantastic, but I don't know if there's any other way in which you can kind of talk about the impact that had.
Absolutely. It goes to things like you mentioned, the melamine incident with the milk that happened a few years ago. That goes not only to the trust of the brand, but it goes to public safety as well. And so it also then goes for brands like this one, Reed Fruits, it goes to operating license as well. And if you can demonstrate to the market and to regulators and others that you're taking proactive steps before people are getting sick, before your suppliers are getting their businesses decimated, this is the sort of company, it's the way that they work. They double down, they take precautions, that the brand's been around for a long time, many generations. There's a reason why they're still in business. So apart from the brand perspective, literally it was costing individual distributors more than $250,000 US each in each of the cities and in the regions in the cities. So those, and that's through lost sales, because the product is on sale literally at the market stall down the road from you, and you've paid a license and you're paying a premium for the product. So it has a real hard impact, and it has a confidence impact for consumers. So let's say you give these cherries, you can see how well packaged they are. They're a premium product. If you give those to somebody and they're fake, you could not only make them sick, but there's a loss of face if they work out that you've given them fake cherries. And that face is very important in Asian cultures, in many cultures. So, that's the reason why we think it's got benefits, and why we're still working with Reeds, but also, a lot of that one case study brought in a number of premium exporters from around Australia and other parts of the world. We're continuing to build our business in the premium food industry.
Awesome. All right. Tell us about case study number 2. We got 7 minutes. Let's hear about.
All right, I'm going to race. I'm going to race now. Okay. So I think most of us would know Crocs as a brand. Crocs have a fantastic product brand called Hey Dude, which I'm not sure how many people have heard of, but this is one of those brands that went viral during the pandemic. And they had, particularly surging sales, during the pandemic. That led to a lot of fakes. And they contacted us for help with the fakes. They'd seen, obviously, the case study I just showed you before. And they were like, let's give that a try too. They also really wanted to build a connected packaging campaign, and were very interested in our competition mechanics and other things that we could bring to bear as well. But the interesting thing, Jenny, was that they always suspected they had a grey market problem. They knew they had counterfeits because they could see them, but they also suspected that the products were being diverted by official exporters. And so we actually helped them prove it. And it started by rolling out Lava across their global markets with a number of these swing tags. We also then put them on shoe boxes as well. And again, unique to every individual product. These ones feature the smart fingerprint as well. But as mentioned, we also have invisible and QR-based solutions too.
Gavin, I just want to stop you, sorry, just because there's some really nice questions, I think, from the audience. And I think it's really important we get to them. So Anonymous is asking us, how do you automatically shut down the fingerprints? I think that's going back to the Chinese one where you said after, I think you said 10 scans. Tell us how it works.
Yeah, sure. You can kind of see it illustrated on this example with Hey Dude. So because we're tracking and counting every scan, if the business rule, and there's a set of configurable business rules that a brand can set, if that business rule is exceeded, it can automatically change the digital experience for the consumer. So I guess probably one thing I might have omitted or to mention, but it's probably obvious to the audience, is that every time they're scanned, we're going back to the Lava product cloud and to the latest web data, including the brand's own sources of truth if they have a database set up for it, and we're checking it against the latest version of that digital product identity, that digital twin on the cloud. So here you can see it's brought back a genuine pair of Hey Dude shoes. Also, it's brought back all the product traceability, which is very relevant to the product passport discussion you were leading before. All of that information comes back, and it's the unique pair of shoes that's being verified. So if there's a problem with this fingerprint, it's going to come back immediately and either give the consumer an alert or give an alert to the brand via us as well, so they know what's happening in real time. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, I do think it does. We've got a couple of others. Shamil says, according to my understanding, Lava can be a very good helper for small businesses and could support those small businesses in effective development for connections with their potential customers.
Thank you. I agree. A lot of our customers, particularly the ones we started with, are artisanal and small producers. One of the key things you saw with the example with Reed Fruits, where we had to design it to be hand applied. In cases like Hey Dude, where you've got a mass-produced product that's made all around Asia in 15 or 20 factories and has a high degree of automation involved, we've also got solutions that work there. And we integrate with partners such as Domino, many of you guys would know, and I think they're featured as well, who do on in-situ printing, and we've got many other print partners around the world that do it at a large scale on a production line too. So, and that's the challenge, is making it work for all of those segment demographics as well. But yeah, definitely,
and small businesses,
the value should be kept. Small businesses should deserve so much work and effort is going in to create these brands, and even don't forget, all of them, including Hey Dude, started as literally a small business, in this case in Italy. So, that we can grow with them.
Super interesting. Last one before I let you get back into it, which is, how are you planning to stay ahead of the counterfeiters? What is the next technology leap forward in this area?
That's a great question, because it really is an arms race. There's no doubt about it. You've got to be constantly developing technology, because counterfeiters always find a way through. And it's important for us to say as well, me to say, you're never going to stop 100%. You're really trying to, in our case, we're trying to break the business model. We're trying to make it uneconomic for the counterfeiter. And we're trying to reduce, if we can, as many of those getting through as we can. Now, in our case, we've just kept developing and enhancing the technology. So we've invested a hell of a lot in the actual product cloud platform. These screens that you see here can be designed by a brand owner themselves with just drag and drop. And on the security side, I mentioned earlier that we've added an invisible smart fingerprint range called InvisiPrint, which has the smart logo and smart QR offering as well. And we're now investing in different ways that you can print that digitally, using conventional digital printers, using special inks. So we've got tiers of ability to support, and we can layer. That's the other thing, is that no solution is an island in itself. Not only can we layer different levels of Lava technology, but we also work really closely with a lot of other partners in our space, not only with agencies and digital firms like yourself, Jenny, and Appetite, but also with other brand protection companies who make amazing technology for forensic analysis of the actual product, testing the chemicals, testing the light reflectivity of surfaces, all sorts of exciting things. So we think it takes a village, and that's how we do it. That's how we do it. So.
Oh, I mean, I was quite surprised how quickly there was a counterfeiter on the Cherry example trying to already get into that. That was quite surprising to me.
Day one. As I said, we've actually that particular company and others like it often have the counterfeits in market before they've even left the source country.
Incredible.
It's just a sad fact of life.
I know we're running out of time, and I know that you had this case study. So is there anything, I'll quickly give you the opportunity to 60-second wrap it up.
Sure. Well, I guess this is just another example of the technology, except this time you're seeing the platform in action. So here you can see a counterfeiter actually not only just removing the stickers in order to counterfeit them, but the real surprise of this one, and I'd love to you know, talk it through with anyone who's interested, is we also helped them unearth a product diversion network. That was the big surprise out of this one, because we're tracking and monitoring every scan using GDPR, you know, privacy compliance and so forth. We were also able to unearth the fact that there was product being resold from India and Africa into North American markets. Every one of these scans, Jenny, should not be there in the USA. That was purely unearthed just using the fact that they've got the serialized secure Lava technology in our product cloud. So, you know, that's kind of like a nice summation of where we landed for that case study, and we'll have to save the rest for another time, I guess.
The next time, but of course, anyone can contact you or contact me, and we will be able to share slides, case studies, additional things. But it's been super interesting. I always learn something new chatting to you. So, you know, really, really great to hear about this. Authentication, it's a real problem. You've got a way to be able to protect brands. And also, once you've got the brands there, you can do things like register to win, I can see here on that slide, or other gamifications, which of course Appetite can help you with as well. So lots of really great stuff.
Fantastic. Jenny, thanks so much for the opportunity.
No worries at all. Lovely, lovely to have you with us. All right, so moving to our next panelist. It's going quickly, it's moving fast. So next up with us, please do stick around. We've got Stefan and Marco. They're going to be talking to us about packaging innovation. So do stay tuned, as that will be in the next 4 minutes.